Oh boy, Civvie's back to shill Selaco. We're doing it, we're shilling Selaco. No, wait, hold on. Cancer King demands that you use 30 seconds of your time to promote B&M's traditional New England-style brown bread in a can. Listen, I'm from New England, and I've never had any Have you ever eaten bread, and by that I mean sweet United States sugar loaves, and said, I wish this was more brown, and then it could survive the collapse of society? Is your dumbass gonna be growing wheat and making bread after the fall of civilization? No, like me, you're gonna find your least favorite neighbor, knock them out, seal them in an oak barrel, keep them drugged up while they marinate, and then humanely end their life without raising their cortisol levels so that the meat tastes better. Well, kids, B&M canned brown bread is cholesterol-free. Toast it, spread some butter on it, you're golden. Was that 30 seconds? Okay, good. So, now that I've met the demands of the YouTube algorithm and I guess the cancerous entity that runs this place now, we can finally talk about my most anticipated game of 2024 as it enters early access. I talked about the demo a couple years ago, and I played that demo a lot, like over and over, because it was amazing. The amount of polish and the combat and the design was breathtaking. Yeah, I said that, I think. Selaco is, as the title of this video suggests, magic, dark, arcane wizardry performed with GZ Doom. I thought about pausing my Descent video to rush something out on Selaco, but it occurred to me after playing the review build that I wanted to wait and play the finished release version. And I know what you're saying Civvie, but it's early access, and let me see if I can try to explain this because it's been making my brain bleed thinking about it, so... If you've ever worked a job in IT or engineering or anything where you have to deal with some piece of shit instrument of corporate sociopathy that, despite having no idea how your job is done, has failed upwards to a position where they have to manage people because they don't give good enough head, I promise I'm going somewhere with this. So you tell your boss it'll take 4 hours. It takes 10 minutes and you can get it done in an hour.
Mr. Scott, have you always multiplied your repair estimates by a factor of 4?
Certainly, sir. How else can I keep my reputation as a miracle worker?
Now, Scotty factoring, which is purposefully underselling your own abilities to impress someone later, is hugely important when dealing with managers. I didn't let the secret out. Management doesn't watch the show past the ad for brown bread. So from the viewpoint of an engineer, this is an invaluable tool. However, from a marketing perspective, you generally don't try to undersell your game. Like by saying this game is in early access, but there's 31 levels and it's a full campaign. Because that shit is confusing. And they're like, we're gonna release chapters 2 and 3 later for free, which is cool, but the first time I played through this campaign, without going to the secret levels, it took me 8 hours. You want to know why Selaco's been in development forever? Because it is a meticulously designed, insanely polished shooter on GZ Doom that does not really at any point feel like Doom. There are times where it feels a little like Doom 3 visually, but not Doom. You got Doom games that feel like Doom, right? You got Doom games that kind of feel like Doom, but aren't. You've got Doom games that feel almost nothing like Doom, but still feel like some of the DNA is there. And then you've got Selaco, a fear-inspired, balls-to-the-wall, ultra-violent, ultraviolet,
actionable pun detected.
God, fuck! I don't even know where to start with this game. You should buy it right now. It's my game of the year. After seeing how polished the demo was, I had some pretty high expectations for Selaco, and it surpassed all of them, because I simply underestimated the clearly unhealthy level of perfectionism from the devs. Good God, take a break. Perfectionism isn't always a good thing. We'll talk about the bad stuff once I'm done glazing this game up. The game puts you into the shoes of Dawn Collins as a horrible cataclysm strikes Selaco, which is a human colony that remains after the Fall, an event that decimated Earth and killed most of the human race. We get more details on that much later in the campaign. For now, shit is going down. Dawn is a recently promoted ace officer and has been hospitalized for a muscle strain when aliens attack. Or whatever these pink-blooded soldiers are. They speak English, so I suspect some kind of shenanigans that haven't yet been explained in the story. Story isn't usually important in a game unless you're trying to do a Fear or Half-Life styled campaign where there are data logs with breadcrumbs scattered throughout the environment that do an incredible job of fleshing out the world you're playing in, on top of the already stunning environment design. I feel weird talking about the story because so much of it isn't explained. Dawn is a small piece of the overall narrative, and while she's trying to look into mysterious dealings in the colony, all of this happens. I don't think the hamstring injury is slowing her down, because as soon as you pick up her armor, you unlock sliding, which is the game's only way of moving fairly quickly and escaping danger. It's pretty effective at this, but also it has a cooldown to prevent you from using it too much. You're not a robot. The campaign flows organically from one location to the next across this massive colony, starting at the hospital, moving into underground industrial areas, bars, a yoga studio, a parking garage, the city streets, and then stuff I don't want to spoil yet. Please skip to the timecode on screen to see spoilers. It's split into 7 levels, but you can run back and forth through the entire campaign pretty much any time. Eventually, you get access to a train system that'll transfer you between ace security checkpoints, which is... Okay, the train is lies, and while impressive, I'm gonna spoil the magic for you right now. This train isn't moving, and that's why you can't see anything on the map. It's impressive that they did this in the Doom engine, but it's really just a projection of the tunnel outside the windows of the train. It never moves, and both ends of the tunnel are exactly the same. It is fast travel in the sense that it's faster than taking the long way back to the other levels. Hold on, I gotta go take a piss.
Take security transport to Parts Corps, Pathfinder Memorial, Blue. You have arrived at your destination.
There, we got to the next station. Ride's pretty long. The design of these levels is incredible. They take a lot of cues from Monolith's design in Fear, where you're moving through offices and industrial areas that get turned into combat arenas, but they're really, really well-designed combat arenas that allow for all kinds of tactics. They're beautiful, full of rich detail, and not just in the placement of props, but in how they react to the fights. It seems like every single prop can be blown to bits or tossed around. It's not quite as sophisticated a physics system as Half-Life 2, but this game runs on fucking GZ Doom. That's like saying the flux capacitor in your DeLorean is pretty good, I guess. It does break the laws of time and space. You pick shit up and you throw it. I didn't even get the mod for the plasma gun that one of yous rushed into the comments to talk about. Each different environment is full of little voxelized props that fit perfectly with the art style. Each level is packed with tiny details and world building. The goddamn sky over the city streets is completely artificial, and the game toys with this as a mechanic when you're there. There's a library with what seems like dozens of different books that are just props. There's an office for a game company operating on Selaco, and you can download their stupid Burger Flipper mobile game and play it, and the fucking game is running in the background on your PDA for the rest of the campaign. There's also Space Bro cabinets scattered around, and you could play it and get a high score, and the game looks like this. This stupid Easter egg is a real video game. There are functional holographic pool tables. The health vending machine has a personality.
Oh, I thought you had deeper pockets than that. Oh well, you'll be back.
There are little stories happening inside of locations that you may never notice or care about, but they fit perfectly and flesh out the world. In a game on fucking GZ Doom, you can visit a bar and see a person's emails telling your friends to come out to this cool place with a rustic atmosphere. One of the levels takes place inside of the offices for Selaco Public Radio, where you can find out that the greasy guy in charge of the place has been trying to spy on Dawn and Ace in general, and is trying to re-release audio they have of the fucking world ending. You can abuse the photocopier in their fucking office. Cute teddy bear. People have pictures of their families on the walls. The levels aren't even all linear either. You're going around and getting batteries or key cards to progress, but you can, and have to, explore the areas to do this. So there's cracks on the walls that you can break open with explosives, or, in a move that made me want to cry with joy, you can just upgrade the shotgun to do it. Master key, huh? Good shit. And sometimes, you know, you break open a wall and you find the room that perfectly represents what my cell looks like after playing Selaco. That is a Coom Room of Doom. The attention to detail breaks my brain, and it's probably the most subtle part of the game that you can miss because you're too busy with... When I was playing the review build of this game and shooting things and thinking about the game's combat, this overused Homelander meme kept popping into my head.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
If you think the detail they put into the world was overwhelming, just wait like 2 minutes until you pick up a gun and start shooting things. Everything in Selaco has this incredible weight to it. The sounds, the visual feedback, everything has been so finely tuned to deliver this specific experience to the player. The AI has somehow been made to flank, pathfind brilliantly, usually, and work together, or more likely, it's similar to Fear, a nearly flawless imitation of cooperative AI, bolstered by the shocking amount of enemy chatter between the soldiers that give you an idea of what they're doing so you can, at the same time, plan attacks on the fly. And there aren't a ton of enemy types in Selaco. You've got basic riflemen, shotgunners who will rush and murder you, little explosive robot spiders, man-hacks, sometimes, elite soldiers with more health, juggernauts voiced by Gianni to serve as the heavies when the game needs them, like at the end of the demo section, because that's not a spoiler. You got plasma troops because every game needs an enemy that seems designed to be more evil than the rest. A couple flying enemies, snipers, and I think that's it. It doesn't sound like a lot because it isn't. So how do you solve that when your gameplay revolves around facing these specific kinds of enemies in a very specific kind of combat? The game buffs them about a dozen times during the campaign. Sure, it starts off simple. They get grenades, then they get shields, then smoke grenades. Then they start deploying sentry guns. Then their attacks get a damage boost. Then the plasma guys have shots that do splash damage. Hold on, I need to check my burger empire. And you need to adjust your tactics because there's stuff like smoke grenades and stun attacks that'll really screw you over. I played this game all the way through twice on Commander, and that first time was a lot of pain and punishment that helped me get better. And pushed me to explore for more weapon upgrades. You have to play the enemy AI as much as anything. You have to improvise a lot. You usually can't stay in one place and get the enemies to come to you, because the way the levels are designed doesn't really allow you to camp somewhere for the most part. They will flank you or toss a grenade, and you're not going to survive that. You have to listen to the enemies as much as you do in a Thief game. It's not so much that they're telling you their strategies, but more that if you pay attention to the environment, you have a good idea of where they are in relation to you. Because this game's sound design is also impeccable. When you wound an enemy, you see a yellow flash on your crosshair. Killing them makes a red flash, which is helpful since sometimes there's so much shit going on and smoke and stuff that you can't always see what's in front of you. Again, it's a deliberate choice. There's only one enemy I don't like, and I'll talk about that more in the spoilers section because it takes place in one of the later levels of the campaign that tries to break things up and give some variety to the game's combat, and it's fine, I guess. It's not as good, but I understand the reasoning behind it, so I'd say that 2/3 of one level of Selaco disappointed me. All the guns are good. Every single one. Not a dud in the entire lineup. So let's talk about the non-secret weapons, because this game has a secret weapon hidden away too. You can use your fists, but I never did. All the weapons have dedicated melee animations, all this beautiful sprite work. First, you'll get the assault rifle. It's a beast. It sounds good, it hits good. You'll want to invest weapon parts into lowering the recoil, because you'll be aiming for headshots pretty much the whole time. Of the upgrades I found for it, a lot of them were pretty useful in some narrow circumstances, except for the grenade attachment that will lob your frag grenades. That's that's always nice. Once you pick up your armor, you also get the Roaring Cricket, a powerful hand cannon that only gets better with upgrades. Specifically, upping the damage on headshots and using the double tap attachment. Sure, you can't zoom anymore, but... And early on, hitting an enemy in the head before they're alerted is an instant kill. This gun would be in the top 5 if I had a real list. Also in the top 5 is obviously the shotgun. Situational as it is, being extraordinarily powerful at close range, and feeling exactly that powerful with the sound it makes. It's slow to cock and slower to reload, but good lord, it'll cover the screen in pink goo like nothing else. Then you've got the SMG, or if you take a little detour in an early level and have a little scrap with some soldiers...
I gotta tell you, it was...
There's so many different upgrades and different fire modes that you can unlock usually by finding a secret briefcase somewhere. One of the few negative things I have to say about this game is the fact that you can go a long time without getting to an upgrade station to swap whatever you have equipped. Like, you can equip a new mod on a weapon when you pick it up, but otherwise you're waiting until you get to another safe room. And unless you want to backtrack, you're waiting a while in some places. There's 10 safe rooms scattered throughout the game, plus I think 2 other upgrade terminals out in the wild. Slot 5 is your grenade launcher, which, with an attachment, can be a rocket launcher, and has 3 separate ammo types: frag, ice, and acid. The acid grenade is ridiculously overpowered, and I have killed juggernauts with a single shot, as long as they stay in the area of effect. The upgrades I bought for it were the speed loader, so you're not painfully loading one shell into it at a time and getting killed, and the panic button, which will basically rapid fire explosives at a thing. It's the nuclear option. Obviously you get it very late game, like you get a lot of the more powerful upgrades. You collect these cards that'll unlock parts of the safe room and also more powerful upgrades, and I didn't find so many on my first playthrough. This time I was really looking. Next up on slot 6 is the Penetrator, shamelessly pilfered from Fear, and I would be very upset about that if it wasn't so goddamn fun to use. It even pins enemies to the wall. I'm gonna tell you this now, outside of spoilers, because I love you all and I love this weapon. There's a machine in the basement of the Broken Seal bar that you drop 3 teddy bears into for reasons that are explained later, and it'll give you a secondary attack that launches a nail bomb. It takes 15 of your nails and shoots out 30. You're welcome. The plasma gun is nice too, and you can upgrade it to be as harmful to the enemies as it is to you. Especially with that little bit of splash damage. It's quite nice. The most boring weapon in the game is an incredibly satisfying sniper rifle in slot 9. Slot 8 we'll talk about in spoilers. Rounding out the arsenal is 3 different throwable weapons: frag grenades, ice grenades, and landmines. I would normally never bother with landmines, but they're incredibly effective in this game. There's even a mod that makes it so the mines have 2 charges, meaning it explodes, rearms, and then explodes again, which is insane, and I love it. If you enjoy mystery stories, you'll be able to find and unlock sticky grenades. You can have them act as impact grenades too. Practically everything you could ever want is hidden somewhere in this game. What really matters is this. I've chosen a single fight from fairly early in the campaign to demonstrate what happens when every element of this game is working together. It's in level 3 inside of a parking garage that has a fast food joint in it, because you don't think they just have a big great parking garage, did you? No, of course not. So I will usually open a fight with some shots from the Roaring Cricket. I haven't upgraded it to the point that it basically gives me a quick kill to open up the battle, but it always stuns this enemy so he can't unleash the devastating shotgun blast he's got. And when I say that it's usually a fatal opener, it is on this next guy. But oh no, he dropped the grenade he was gonna throw. Wait a second though, because we haven't even touched on the beautiful environmental feedback yet. I know where this guy was, not just from the sound cues, but from the fact that he's already opened fire on me and hit some of the props. He broke a bunch of plates here and something that exploded into a stack of papers that covered the ground in front of the counter. I slide jump over the counter, a thing I might only be able to do this effectively because there's a chunk blown out of it. I stop to consider using this explosive, but instead I toss a mine knowing that the enemy will very likely try to chase me through this area. They did! 2 riflemen stand in my way, so I don't feel confident that I can take both at once, so as I sometimes do in this game, I lay down suppressing fire and empty my magazine at them. Another rifleman says target spotted, and I know I have to move again. Past this advertisement for Dr. Eric McGill, the progenitor of the Selaco sunroof.
He defecated through a sunroof!
But even now, there's some graffiti from a Gwyn simp. There's at least one guy who's going to attack me from a distance, judging by how far away his voice sounded, so I pull out my roaring cricket again. Someone tosses a grenade right at my feet, which is a damn smart thing to do, but oh no, I'm also getting flanked by this guy. I slide away and bring out the big guns, or at least the big guns at this fairly early stage of the game. I can still hear the bullets whizzing by me and the impact they're making on the environment, so I slide away to reassess the battlefield. I can see at least 2 more guys coming at me, so I switch from my mines to frag grenades, except the car in front of me is already primed to explode. I add more explosion to that explosion. It wounds someone, according to the HUD, and I see out of the corner of my eye another muzzle flash lighting up, so I slide away. And as I do that, the HUD indicates that another soldier is now dead from my grenade. I run back through the restaurant hoping to lead them towards a choke point, considering using the explosive canister again before deciding to leave it, double back when I see McGill, and spray the area where my pursuer is, which just happens to be right next to that explosive canister. Something else is shooting at me that sets off the car. That's not the part that impressed me while rewatching this footage. No, it's the fact that the goddamn glass on the window flies off from the force of the explosion in the proper direction. The last 2 guys are right on my ass and I dispatch them with the SMGs. The fight is over, and then I slide into a pile of trash in celebration. Most encounters in this game are like this. It is a thrilling cat and mouse push and pull. People aren't just praising this game because the devs made something amazing on GZ Doom. It's because they made something amazing regardless of the technology it's built on. Someone put together a mid-2000s shooter with meticulous design and give or take a few bits, well, it's as close to perfect as I've seen a game come in a long time. Now, before I get into spoilers, I'm gonna say that this Chapter 1 does end on a cliffhanger, and without a proper boss fight to close it out. And I still think people should buy it. It's still worth whatever they're charging. Base price is $25, yeah, totally worth it. I've already beaten it twice. So, okay, on to the spoilers. Katie, do the spoiler card. Alright, let's talk about the fucking plant monsters. So when I got a review copy of this game, they hadn't quite done a great job of balancing the final section of this level inside the big lab complex, and a lot of it is still fighting the same enemies, but something sinister is clearly happening on the lower floors. The soldiers are freaked out about it. You put on a gas mask in what is a very tense scene where you realize some dumb scientists have turned themselves into weird plant mutants that act entirely differently from all the enemies you've fought up to this point. They're melee focused, except these fuckers who I decided to call vegetarian chain gunners. You're walking through this lab with only a gas mask to protect you from a plague that is another enormous problem threatening Selaco. So you plant a bunch of charges and blow the whole place up, and when looking at it without the more irritating plant monster bits, there's a great deal of tension tension mined from the gas mask cracking at certain times. It's the kind of carefully constructed Valve-style set piece that this game imitates extremely well. The plant monsters are just a touch undercooked, just a teeny tiny little bit.
Fucking roll.
I understand that the game wanted to add variety to it, make one of the missions different. This makes complete sense on paper, and is a good idea, but the plant monsters tend to hoard up on you, and in the review build I basically hit a wall in the final part because they were just fucking everywhere. This has been remediated in the early access release, but one particular thing that nearly broke me was that I just unlocked a plasma gun upgrade that added splash damage, and the game started throwing giant waves of melee enemies at me, meaning I couldn't use it without cooking myself. It's not even a bad section anymore, it's just not of the same quality as the rest of the campaign, which, to be fair, most games aren't. And then after that tense bit and the plant monsters, this part of the campaign is essentially over. You escape, head through a final tunnel to battle more soldiers, then, at least on Commander, 4 juggernauts that I have more than enough firepower to absolutely decimate. And you think you're about to face a big boss, right? Because the game is hinted towards it, and then you find blueprints for an intimidating mech, and you can hear the thing, and then bam, it stops dead in its tracks and says "to be continued" in free DLC. My guess is that they needed to release this when they did. And even knowing this is how this section of the campaign ends, I still want to endlessly shill this game. The cliffhanger at the end seems trivial when I feel like I'm the only thing standing between the last remnants of the human race and extinction. And you have to fight to see everything, especially if you want to get into the secret level. To do that, you have to upgrade your security clearance to level 6. Or you can avoid the giant building locked with level 6 clearance and finish this part of the campaign before you hit a point of no return like a minute later. Selaco, ironically, likes to spell things out with its navigation, whether it's with a big obvious locked door or green lights showing you the path forward. I didn't get level 6 clearance the first time just because I didn't find one of the clearance upgrades. I don't even remember which one. But I wanted to do a second playthrough where I found more, because that level 6 clearance, that unlocks another 2 hours of game. This is some Koji Igarashi shit. Not that I mind, I love me an Igavania, but not only does it feel like you're missing a ton of gameplay, most of it is noticeably harder than the rest of the campaign. But you're missing the lore, you're missing some killer secret upgrades, and you're missing the secret weapon you get after completing it, which is a railgun. That you get to use for about 10 minutes before the campaign abruptly ends on a cliffhanger. Starlight Labs requires you to search for 4 separate keys in 4 separate maps that have their own progression system that adds more hazards to each level no matter what order you play them in. More landmines, more robots, more enforcers, shit like that, and they are punishing. But the upgrades you get are only really accessible towards the end, and once you're out of Starlight, the last few battles are a cakewalk. You have a friggin' experimental railgun now. And if you found the blueprints hinting towards the big mech, you think that's what you're facing, and then you don't. In retrospect, Selaco blueballed me one time after satisfying me many times before that. I would not be surprised if they didn't have a financial need to finally release this game. And the pure, unassailable quality of 99% of it easily supports the parts that I don't like. Without Starlight, this campaign lasts 8 hours before a cliffhanger. More if you're really secret hunting. I wouldn't be surprised if some people could get 12 hours out of it. I don't want to be a bummer here, so we're going to move on to something else, and that's the mall level. Oh, the mall level. The mall level is, as far as I'm concerned, Selaco's real climax. You've just picked up the marksman rifle, opening up long-range combat. And while that's nice and all, the game isn't going to make you do a whole level of it. Directly after this level is where you spend a lot of the time fucking around with plant monsters, so I think this level is really the test of your skills when it comes to understanding the AI. That's because you have 3 maps, 2 of which are fucking massive environments, where you'll end up alerting a lot of the enemies when you make your first move on them. And it is thrilling. The first time I played through it, this level ground me into the fucking dirt. I was not ready. This time I was. I was better equipped, more experienced, so I'm clearing the place out, I'm kicking ass, and the absurd level of environmental detail required to pull this level off specifically floored me. There's a dozen different stores with different props. There's 2 more wings, one with a theater and an arcade, and one with more shops and a bank. Now, there's a bank vault here that I don't have a code for. Yet. The code's in the theater. See, in a reference to our old pal Duke Nukem 3D, you can blast open one of those screens and get behind it. No jetpack though, but the plasma gun's a good enough reward, I think. There's also a thing I didn't clock as a vault code the first time because it's on the opposite side of the mall and could just be a reference to Duke Nukem 3D. 1996. Now, this level is my favorite for a number of reasons. The balls-to-the-wall encounters in the wide-open mall where you're constantly on the run and making snap decisions against an ever-escalating assault that's coming from all directions. The fact that you've got basically the whole arsenal at your disposal. The detail and the world building is still peak. But then you get into the bank vault and you grab enough cash to pay for the portable medkits that you'll need from Gwyn. And then you find this loose brick in the vault which will open another secret door. And then down a ladder. You're my best friend. Let's play another game. I'm Teddy 11. Do you want to play? Now, some of you may have found this in the demo. I didn't want to spoil it there. I didn't realize how many Teddy 11 bears would be scattered throughout, especially in the toy offices. I recorded these lines a long time ago, and I knew that they'd done this here with them. Give me a hug. You're very special. That hurts. You're hurting your friend. Speaking a different language here? Cut it out. How's this for a bear hug, asshole? You just don't fucking listen, do ya? I have joined the likes of Seth MacFarlane, where I voice a profane teddy bear, and also I got early warning about 9/11 and made sure not to take a plane that day. But I did not realize that there would be a fucking backstory to Teddy 11. That these toys have been exploding and probably murdering children. That's fucking awesome! And I absolutely did not expect what comes next. Kids, I am at this moment overcome with emotion. Is it gratitude? Narcissism? Oh hell, I don't know. Maybe both. Mixed with an admiration for the designers who made this joke weapon and spent a not insignificant amount of time to implement it in a way that is just... Cut that shit out. Teddy 11 doesn't like this. This must be how Chucky feels all the time. Teddy 11's getting real fed up with the bullshit.